Hello, buddy, and welcome to podcast number 79 of the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast. I'm not good at it. I'm still practicing. I'm still learning how to do this.
You're new at this. Don't worry about it.
Thanks, Lucy. My name's Gareth Evans. This is obviously the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast. We've got Miss Lucy Ann Jones.
Got it. Nailed it.
And Mr. Jake Jones.
That's me.
No relation.
No relation that we know of.
No relation that we know of.
of.
Joining me today for the podcast. So welcome, guys, or welcome back, Lucy, and welcome back yourself, because you've been here in the past as well, Jake.
Yes, yeah.
It was before Christmas where you interned for us at Pretty Good Games. So welcome back, everybody, one and all. So Jake, Lucy was here last week. She told us, she caught us up with everything that she's been doing. So you're guest lecturer now at Bangor University, is that right?
No, not quite. I'm going there in 2 weeks though, less than 2 weeks now.
Bangor Uni. You've just been accepted for university.
Yes.
Sorry, my mistake. I got mixed up there, obviously. So you're excited. What are you studying?
I'm studying philosophy and religion.
Wow.
That's some heavy topic.
I know. People are always like, oh, what does that involve? It's like just lots of questions, lots of difficult questions.
Yeah, a lot of difficult questions. But good luck to you, dude.
Thank you very much.
Wish you all the best of that. But so for today, let me pull up some questions. That would be a bloody help, right? So we've got some questions sourced from the patrons, right? The PGG patrons. And if you guys are interested in becoming a patron and asking us questions for the podcast, you can head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. I think the URL is. There you can check out information about all the rewards you can get as a patron, access to the Discord server, the Dad Jokes channel on the Discord server. It's notorious by now, obviously.
Yeah.
One of the biggest rewards for being a patron.
Priceless, absolutely priceless.
I mean, there's no price you can put on that. You're absolutely right. And other things, there's a monthly hangout that I do now, as well as contribute, ask questions for the podcast, which is one of the rewards. So if any of you current patrons do have questions for the podcast for next time, drop them down in the comment section on this post on Patreon, and maybe we'll ask your question out next week. So we do have some questions specifically for you, Jake, because we asked Lucy and James last week their questions. So we'll start off with you. Okay. So have you done anything on camera since you last appeared on the PGG podcast? This comes from Beach Horn.
Well, see, I was thinking about it. I thought, well, no, I haven't really tried to be in front of a camera. But I don't know if anyone's a fan of Tom Scar here, but I was actually on his vlog, his last month vlog, in his July vlog.
Yeah.
Because I was at MCM Comic Con Manchester, and he was also there.
You do a lot with Tom Scar, right?
I do, yeah. I moderate his subreddit.
You're a moderator of his subreddit?
Yes.
Which is damn awesome. How long have you done that for?
Oh, since March last year it would be.
He's is he like one of the OG YouTubers? So he's been around since pretty much the start, right?
He's a big name, isn't he?
And if you know your history with YouTube, if you know your history, you will have heard of him, right? At the very least. If not seen and enjoyed a lot of his videos. He's quite an entertaining fellow, is he not?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Makes lots of comedy sketches, vlogs, animations. He doesn't animate, though. He's not the animator. It's not him.
Right.
He makes
I'm glad you cleared that up. I'm glad you cleared that up. But he's a funny guy, that's for sure, right?
Definitely, yeah. He's wonderful.
So you enjoy doing the moderation on his subreddit,
Yes,
right?
It's a surprisingly lovely community. Reddit has not the best reputation, Reddit, as I'm sure some people know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the community's lovely. They're always, posting fan art and videos and memes. Love the memes.
A bunch of memes on
moderator.
Exactly.
You moderate memes.
You
should be able to
meme manager.
That's it. Twitter. Tomska.
There you go, mate.
Twitter.
I've got your Twitter bio sorted.
Meme moderator.
There you go. And another follow-up question: Do you think, or it's a bit deeper, right? Do you think the big AAA games not being on Switch will help or hinder it in 2019? So you're a big Nintendo fan, right?
I am, yes.
And that's one of the takeaways from last time that you were on with us on the podcast, is that you're a huge Nintendo fan. So, obviously you've got a Switch, you play a lot on the Switch. So this specifically, do you think the big AAA games not being on Switch will help or hinder it?
Now, the big AAA games, that's talking about what? Call of Duty, Battlefield, Red Dead. Well, we don't actually know Nintendo's plan for 2019 yet. So far, they've got Smash Bros. Coming out in December, and that's it. Obviously, they've got Metroid, but that's got a release date. They've got a Yoshi game coming out. They've got next year's got a Pokemon game, a proper one coming out, not the Let's Go ones that people don't really like for some reason.
Yeah.
But in terms of whether other third-party AAA games will help the Switch or hinder it, depends.
And specifically them not being on, right? Because if you compare to the likes of PlayStation 4 and Xbox, where pretty much all of them go there.
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch has to be a little bit more selective based on the hardware limitations that they've got, right?
Absolutely.
So, Bethesda are quite good in serving up AAA experiences on the Switch. They've done so with, Doom and
Skyrim. We've got Wolfenstein 2. And we're getting Doom Eternal at the same time.
And they're specifically developed versions for the Switch, right?
Big Red Button.
It's not
Panic Button do it, not Big Red Button.
There you go. And they do a great job.
Yeah, they do. Honestly, they're really, really solid ports.
Yeah, so it's very difficult for just a regular AAA game, like Call of Duty, for example, unless they put time and resource into developing a Switch version, to just port easily onto the Switch. So that being said, is Switch's current lineup, or just the indies that are going on there, is that enough to sustain the Switch as a legitimate?
I mean, this year has been kind of bare bones in terms of big Nintendo releases. I mean, any that come to mind this year, has there been any big Nintendo releases this year? I don't think there really has been. In terms of like the massive ones, there hasn't.
No, I don't think so.
No, because obviously we had Zelda and Mario last year, and then we got Smash in December.
They've got a lot of weight in that Smash release. A lot of people expecting that highly anticipated game. So maybe that's where all their energies are going at this point. It does
seem that way. Yeah,
they're not the kind of institute corporation to be teasing a long time ahead. They're going for Zelda.
They do like to focus on what's in the near future most of the time.
Yeah. Still waiting on that Animal Crossing Switch game.
Still waiting on that they did say was happening, but didn't give any proper details. Said, our mobile game will work in collaboration with this new Animal Crossing game for Switch.
I think Switch should be fine. I think you look at the sales figures, they're still selling loads, man. They're still selling absolutely loads, and it's one of the most best-selling consoles month after month.
Exactly.
And you've got to serve games for them people. And people, indie developers are seeing a huge payback from putting their games on the Switch. So obviously, it goes from strength to strength. The people who buy the Switch, they don't really miss AAA games, I'm guessing, because they're there for a different experience, right?
Yeah.
For me, I bought my Switch as a secondary console because I already owned a PS4. That was where I was playing all the big AAA games. I'm now barely touching my PS4 and just strictly playing on my Switch recently. I've been playing lots of indie games.
You're playing Fortnite, right?
A lot of Fortnite. Well, I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah, maybe we'll get to that in the podcast. And do you have a Switch, or have you thought about getting a Switch, Lucy, at all? Is it your kind of thing?
It's one of those things that I have a 3DS that is worn into the ground, and it's one of those things that I know I do want, and I know it's definitely going to be in my future, but it's just being able to get enough money, and I feel like the minute that Animal Crossing comes out, because I'm a massive Animal Crossing fan, I've had like the last 4 or 5 titles that came out. I feel like when Animal Crossing comes out, that's going to be the time where I ignore my wallet, and I know that's going to be the tipping point for me.
It's a tunnel vision after that, isn't it?
Pretty much. I think it's that one game, everyone has that one release that's sort of, they're on the fence by getting a console, and one release comes out and you're like, well, I have to get that. And I feel like Animal Crossing is going to be like that for me.
There you go. I personally love the Switch. I don't miss the AAA games. If there's one AAA game that I did love, that was Skyrim, right? I played that to death, over 60 hours just on the Switch alone. And I played it before, but I don't think it will hinder it at all, because it's got so much. It's not there to compete with AAA. I don't think it's there. It fulfills a different need from gamers, right? Your portability, and also just ease of use and being able to just pick up and play. Whereas you don't get that with other consoles, and that's why people buy it. They don't buy it for the AAAs, because otherwise you'd go to a console, or if you want like the highest resolutions and frame rates, whatever, you go to a PC, and that's specifically why you get those. But there you go. That's to answer your question, Beachhorn. We're going to move on now to a Lucy question. I haven't read these, by the way. I don't know what's coming up. So
right.
This is hopefully
it's a good thing I haven't. Otherwise, it'd be a weird podcast.
Hopefully, they're family friendly. Anyway, Lucy, this is from Beachhorn again. If you could do the writing for an RPG game based on a novel, Which novel or series of novels would you choose and why? This is a follow-up to last week. We learned that you were writing for My Time at Portia.
Yes.
So
I
you're
don't think I
now
told you this.
I watched the podcast.
Official writer.
I am, yeah.
So if you had your choice.
I had a little think about this before we came in, and it would have to be the Discworld novels. I know there's a few games. There's a point-and-click game that's just called Discworld, and then there's Discworld Noir, which is also a point-and-click game, but they are both very old at this point. They're both PC games that were around, God, they were made in the 90s at some point. So there's no real, there's board games, there's some tabletop games of Discworld, but I think like an open world Discworld game, like, man, can you think of anything better? Because I cannot, I would love to, it's my favourite series of books. Terry Pratchett's my favourite author.
Yeah, Discworld is a huge series, right? He wrote dozens and dozens of Discworld books.
I can't even remember.
Terry Pratchett is a very famous author, obviously. And tell me, how does it work? Like, all the books fit in the same world, right? It's all one lore.
Yeah.
But like each book's like a different, based on a different character or a different.
Yeah. So it's all on one planet, Discworld, and then there's a bunch of cities, there's a bunch of different countries. Some of his books, there's quite a few of them that are based around a city called Ankh-Morpork, which is sort of it's a huge central city, and it's got like farmlands and villages out, and you've got stories set all around there, and then he branches out to different countries around Discworld. And I just think maybe like an open world sort of exploration / maybe sort of mystery game, maybe just set around the city itself to sort of just confine it a bit, would be just amazing. Just being able to run around that world on your own would be amazing. And as a writer, that is just a treasure trove of delights that you can take part in, writing for NPCs that sort of Pratchett came up with, and all the different storylines, because it is he has such a skill of making it into a bustling city. I think that would translate really nicely into sort of an open world sort of game that's just filled with interesting NPCs. Your side quests would never be boring. And just thinking about it's just making me so happy it doesn't even exist.
Well, there you go. It was a very good question. I believe that was a fantastic answer, because Terry Pratchett is loved throughout the world, right? Everyone loves Terry Pratchett and his series of books. We do have a follow-up question. What piece of positive gaming news is this? We're going to do this as a different.
So this was like a question that was like proposed, and I was like, oh, we could do this. We could do a thing out of it. A
segment out of it, yeah. Okay, so this is a new segment, guys. We're obviously very very well prepared here. I've just finished an edit. That's the problem. My brain's still a bit mush.
Tired old man. That's what it is.
Thanks, Lucy.
You're welcome.
Possible new segment. So this is definitely a new segment now because we're doing it. So pretty good vibes. This is the new segment. We don't have a jingle or anything. Maybe you can have a pretty good vibes jingle. If there was nothing there just then
I loved it. I loved
it was
that
fun.
jingle.
It was a great jingle. Okay, so what piece of positive gaming news in recent years still puts a smile on your face thinking about it even now? So the idea of this segment is that we're going to spread positivity throughout the game world, because there's enough people spreading negative things and saying bad things about games. We just want to be a little positive, even if it's just like add a little bit of positivity into the game.
We think the puddles look all right.
Speak for yourself. No, so in answer to the question, and for the first answer of this segment that may or may not continue into future podcasts, what piece of positive news stays with you?
So this actually is along the same lines, because it is also Pratchett related. Didn't plan that one out. Just the way that
it happens.
The cards have presented themselves. But I read an interview a while ago. It's quite old at this point, but Terry Pratchett is asked about his favourite video game, and he mentions Oblivion, and he mentions that he mods it. And that he transformed his game essentially from the original structure of Oblivion into basically his character ended up running his own vineyard. He had staff that ran it. He made money and gained XP by selling cheese and shoes. And there was one point where he downloaded a companion. I think you can still get her. She's called Vilja, or Vilja. It's Vilija. And she's just a companion mod, sort of pretty basic looking. Pratchett sort of took a liking to her, really enjoyed the fact that she gave stories along the way, that she helped you out. Just generally enjoyed the companionship in what is, can be quite a lonely game. And he reached out, he states in the interview that he loved leaving comments on people's mods when he'd use them, thanking them. And he reached out to these people that made this companion mod. He said, I've really enjoyed this. I've put loads of hours using her. Would you mind if I wrote some more dialogue for her? And they were like, oh, yeah, okay. So you can still get her. She's got, I think, over 200 and something lines written by Pratchett himself. But it is, the lovely thing about it is that's not her main selling point. She was already pretty well formed as a mod anyway, and he just kind of came in as a thank to them and put some work in. And I just think it's such a lovely story. It's really worth reading the interview. I think just Googling Terry Pratchett in Oblivion will
that is a great story. That's a nugget of info right there.
It's so lovely.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Lucy.
Yeah, he's so happy about it.
Yeah,
it's so
awesome.
cute.
The fact that you liked gaming as well, almost.
Yeah.
So
he sort of made gaming into what he wanted out of it. He wasn't. It's kind of like what he did to fantasy. He was, he took fantasy and he molded it into something that fit what he wanted out of it.
Using his own imagination and feeling out that way it's a pretty cool story. Thanks for sharing that with us.
You're very welcome,
Lucy. Dare I ask if you have any good? I know it's a Lucy question, but something that sticks with you.
The one that sticks with me, I think, would be early in the Nintendo Switch's life cycle. It was found in the code of the OS. The NES game Golf that I think Satoru Iwata had a part in. He played some kind of role in developing it, and it was embedded in the code as a tribute to him.
Mm-hmm.
And some people found it, and once it was found, it was then removed. And that's kind of what, in Japanese culture, that's what they do. It's not supposed to be found; it's supposed to be put there.
Yeah.
So that it was still very nice. So there was a very nice gesture that Iwata. This was he had a lot. I think he did put a lot of input into the Switch. It was kind of his idea. He molded it essentially to make it what it is.
Cool. Has he passed away now?
Yes, he passed away a couple of years ago.
A loving tribute to one of the contributors to what the Switch is today. So that was cool. It's a shame that they didn't leave it in, because it'd been great to be able to play the game in his memory. But that was cool. That's another nice, cool little memory. Thanks for sharing that. We do now have to move on to an all question. This time again from Beachhorn. Are there other people contributing to this question? Are there other questions?
There are, yes.
Beachhorn, you are knocking them out of the park. I mean, let's put it this way.
Absolutely on it. Thank you,
you're on it, man. For asking all those questions. Obviously, if you want to get your question featured in the podcast, maybe ask them more questions like Beachhorn has, because
there are others, I promise.
Okay, but for now, have you ever played fighting games against mates on dance mats? Do you highly recommend? If not, what was your most memorable creative local multiplayer gaming experience?
Well, I have a question. How do you play a fighting game on a dance mat?
Quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you got to move your legs pretty quick. I think it's the input device, isn't it? So it's. Have you not seen?
No, it's just a strange way to play.
It's like playing. It's like playing fighting games using a Guitar Hero controller instead of a normal controller. They use a guitar instead.
You use the word strange. Beachhorn uses the word creative. Okay, so it's horses for courses.
He's got more positive vibes going on, I think.
I can't remember a creative local multiplayer gaming experience. I mean, my mates and I used to play Football Manager, or Champ Manager as it used to be back then, and we used to take it in turns on the same computer.
Yeah.
So we'd take 5 or 10 minutes each at a time, formulating our teams, making transfer requests, and then just literally passing the computer over to the next person. That's as creative as we get, because we couldn't have like all piece. You know, it was a while ago, so we couldn't afford to get there as a LAN party or whatever. That's as creative as I got, I guess.
I think I used to play a lot of like couch co-op, sort of Left 4 Dead, and we used to get all the lights down, and it's that kind of like rules that you impose. So if someone dies, they're like not allowed to speak or anything, not allowed to like help up the group. Right. There is also the very simple way that you can enhance your multiplayer experience, and you can start playing Jackbox and then start drinking at the same time, and then you'll get very creative.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can certainly imagine.
That's my suggestion.
I can't really say I have many local multiplayer experiences, never mind creative ones.
Yeah,
I'm much more of a single player person or an online multiplayer person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that's more like you're a little bit younger than us, right? So,
yes.
So your multiplayers are going to come from like online experiences rather than local.
Like my first console was a PS2, so
yeah, there you go. Because back in the day, we didn't have internet. We barely had phones back in the day when I was a kid. No, I'm joking. That was obviously a joke. Cool. So hopefully that answers your question, Beach Sean. One of many questions today, and last week, in fact, as well. I'm not sure if you've got any more. I'm scrolling down here. Yeah, you do have more, so we'll take some more questions from you in just a bit. But
he never
for
takes
now,
a break, that man.
He doesn't. He's awesome. Right, The Red Shadow asks, most fun, entertaining video game weapon? Weapons are big parts of video games, right? We use a lot of weapons in our games. We must have some favourites.
But what's the most fun one?
I think
fun or entertaining?
It's got to be like literally anything from Saints Row. I mean, if you want to catch all, any weapon from Saints Row, you got your dubstep gun, you got your massive purple dildo, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want a stupid weapon, there's a whole series of games right there for you.
Saints Row. I can't say I've ever played a Saints Row game.
If you want a massive power trip, that's the game for you.
Yeah.
That if you ever feel low about yourself, you feel like you're not important, there is just one of the Saints Row games starts with you jumping out of an aeroplane, and then Kanye West's Power starts playing, and you have to dodge all the things like in the sky, and it just makes you land and you feel like a badass.
You feel awesome.
You're also the president of the...
you're also the president at one point, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Right. President of the free world, leader of the free world. That sounds like a lot of fun. How about yourself then, Jake? Any decent
I was
weapons?
thinking Ratchet and Clank.
Everyone says Ratchet and Clank, right? It's the nailed-on answer for pretty much everyone.
But then I thought, no, let's not go with that.
Right, okay, I see what you're doing.
I don't know if this counts as a weapon. I guess it kind of does. But Mario's Cappy from Super Mario Odyssey. That is the most fun I've had with a game mechanical weapon. I guess it technically is a weapon because you're like...
That's true. It kills the enemies, right?
Yeah, it does kill them eventually.
Yeah. If you embody them and suicide them, then it kills the enemies. It works.
But yeah, that is the most fun.
I think that's a good answer.
Yeah.
I remember when Super Mario Odyssey came out, it was around the time you were with us at PGG last year. You went crazy for that game.
I loved it. It was the most fun I've had in a very, very long time in a video game.
Yeah.
It's definitely the quickest way to get to know you.
All the tweets and all the notifications of how far you were collecting the moons. And
I mean, it took me 8 hours to beat the whole game. Like the main game, not the whole game, not all of it. I didn't get all the moons.
Did you do it in one sitting?
Oh, yeah.
8 hours.
Just 8 hours sat there, just loving every second of it.
That's amazing. Live tweeting the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Now, but guess what I've just done, guys?
Definitely follow Jake on Twitter. He's very good at it. Yeah. He's better at Twitter than I am.
You are good at Twitter. That's fair. And could you, as a bit of an update, did you collect all the moons in the end? Did you get there?
No, I never collected all of them because there's about
many.
900 of them, I think.
Right.
I just kind of did what was fun. I just went out there, had fun, discovered as much as I could of the game.
Yeah. What was your favourite level? What's your favourite area?
I mean, it's got to be the Metro Kingdom.
Metro Kingdom.
New Donk City. Love it.
Donk City.
Loved it.
I was going to say, that's pretty cool. That was one of the eye catchers when they were showing off the game before. Yeah. It's like, wow, Mario is in a real world now. This is pretty cool. So there you go. Most entertaining game weapon is the Mario hat and the Saints Row.
Everything
is Saints Row and Cappy. There you go. I hope that answers your question. The Red Shadow. I'd answer it. I don't really have one. I just adapt, I use anything that's at my disposal I can just manage,
What was you have the most fun with, though?
The most fun? I can't really think of anything right now.
You're totally going to think of something the minute we turn off the
camera.
I'm
blanking right now, but maybe it comes back to that once we have a little break. I'll come back probably. So next question is from Rudy Manchego, fan of the channel. Nice to see you in asking questions here, Rudy. So your question is, as I've got less and less time to game, do you ever balk at large games? I am looking forward to Red Dead Redemption 2, obviously, but a game of that size will take me literally months to get through. The same with The Witcher 3, which I started and drifted away from despite it being cracking. Open world games, so big these days, and there's so many of them. Open world fatigue is such a big thing now. If you play one open world game, you cannot jump straight into another open world game unless you are, that way inclined, let's say.
Unemployed.
Unemployed is one that fits that criteria. So do you guys ever get tired of them, bored of them?
Yeah,
find
absolutely.
It difficult, find it a grind.
Yeah.
I think it's generally accepted.
It's a weird thing to complain about. Definitely, like, there's too much content in my game. There's just so much that I'll never be able to see. I think once I've started one, I will sort of chip away at it. But it is that initial starting, knowing that I will have to tear myself away from it. Just from real world commitments. Like Witcher 3 is a great example because that is the kind of game that you just want to sit there and you just want to keep going forever. And it is that heartbreak of having to tear yourself away, and then you might not be able to get back to it for a few weeks or maybe a few months, depending what life does to you. And then you go back to it and you're like, I have no idea what I was doing, what my plan was. There's so many things in my inventory I have no idea how to use. Am I going to just have to... I restarted Witcher 3 about 3 times. Yeah.
And that's a problem you touched on there about coming back to a game after a certain while and not knowing where you are. That's a problem that game devs have to face now with these open world games. That's just something that they have to apply their minds to try and fix, to try and get you back immersed in the game as quickly as possible without giving you too much to look at. So it definitely raises a lot of challenges for game devs thinking about these issues that us as gamers have, because if you're a good game dev, you're going to be considering these types of things. And how about yourself?
I definitely suffer from the whole this is too big, I can't deal with this, I've got to step away, there's too much going on, there's too much content, I can't the last big open world game I finished was Watch Dogs 2. I finished that earlier this year, I believe, and I haven't been able to get into another one since because I just know I'm going to be overwhelmed and have to walk away from it. Witcher 3, another one I'll have to walk away from. I loved every second I played with that, but there's just so much, I'm never going to get it done.
Yeah, it's very intimidating, isn't it? Knowing going into a game that you're going to be 40 hours, 60 hours sometimes. If it's a JRPG, maybe even more to complete it. And it's like, do I really have that much time? For me, it is really off-putting. Knowing a game will come in at about 20 hours is about the sweet spot for me. But however, saying that, a game like Red Dead Redemption 2, I will play that at every single spare moment that I have in my life because I love the original, and it's just a world and a setting that I will just enjoy the hell out of. The Western setting is one of my favourite settings.
I think it's like you trust that it's going to be a good game. You trust that any time you do put into it is going to be well spent. Whereas an open world game that you might not know anything about but you think looks good, you've got to play through that balance of like, is this worth me putting 10-15 hours into it and then I realise I'm not actually having that much fun? Like you've sort of got to do that. Well, with like Red Dead 2, you're going to have fun, so you're going to throw all the hours you have at it. Where say if you started playing like Witcher 3, I'll just keep it as an example, like threw 10 hours into it to get a decent chunk of story, decent chunk of how combat works, decent chunk of what side quests are like, and then realise I'm not actually having that much fun. With like shorter games, with not open world, with linear, you normally know if you like the game much further in because there's much less content for you to get through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. And I think I've suffered from it a lot in the past. I mean, you mentioned Watch Dogs 2. That's one I couldn't finish. The Witcher 3, again, I've started that a couple of maybe three times. I couldn't get through it. Another one was Zelda, the most recent Zelda. just couldn't get through it. There's just like, it comes to a point where if the story isn't enough to drag me through, if I'm not connected enough to the character and what's happening to him or them, then I just lose motivation. If I'm not like on board for it, then I'll lose motivation, unless it's something like Red Dead Redemption 2. So that is it to answer your question, Rudy. Thanks for your question. And it's about time to go for a break. We've been talking for a long time now. We're going to get a couple and we'll be right back, right? We're going to get a couple these are nice mugs.
Oh, isn't it?
I didn't notice these before. Pretty good gaming merch, man.
They're very pretty.
And yeah, it's a nice t-shirt too, right?
Oh yeah, nice t-shirt.
I thought something different looked to it. Yeah.
Anybody's interested in the PGG merch, the store is now available. Link in the description. We will be back after a break. Hello and welcome back to the second half of the PGG podcast, episode number 79. Hopefully that is the right number. I'm pretty sure it is. And for those of you who have forgotten already, we got Lucy here today and we got Jake who are joining us and answering your guys' questions. So it is that time of the week. It's time for Fact of the Week, and we have the jingle, please. Like to take it away, Lucy?
I would. Picked out a good one for you. This is from Bulbapedia, so thanks Bulbapedia. In Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, the Magnemite, you're the Pokemon friend. Magnemite in the far left end of the corridor of the Hokalunai Observatory. Yeah, right. Speaks in Morse code, saying boop bee, boop bee, boop boop, bee bee, bee, boop bee, boop boop, boop bee. If every boop is considered a dot and every bee is considered a dash, this translates to Alola, the local friendly greeting.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Awesome. We are going to move on next to Dead Cred Redemption. And Jake, you're going to take this one for us, right?
Yeah, I'll read it out.
It's a pretty long one, so
it is.
Hopefully you've got your reading eyes in.
Yeah.
I think so.
Is that thing?
You got your reading eyes in, Jake?
Got your reading eyes in, Jake.
So.
Take it away.
Dear PG Redeemers, I have a confession to make. Nearly 20 years ago, while I was in college, my older brother, let's call him Jay, got engaged and he asked me to be his best man. Sadly, I had absolutely no interest. For the record, my brother and I had never been very close. Jay's about 5 years older than me. We had different friend groups as kids. He left home at the age of 17 to travel the country. I was 12 for those keeping track. And he didn't really write or call or visit for many years. Then, almost a decade later, while I was attending university some 30 minutes from my parents' home, Jay strolled back into town with a lady in his arms, announced he was getting married in a couple of months in our parents' backyard, and he wanted me to be a part of it. To be frank, I was nonplussed and even a bit annoyed. I suppose I resented him on some level for leaving home and not making any effort to remain a part of the family for those years he was away, though I've never specifically told him that. In fact, during that particular summer, I was actually much more interested in my new PlayStation than having anything to do with Jay's wedding. I was on my PlayStation all the time that summer, playing the incredible new game called Dynasty Warriors 2. It simply ruled my days and nights. Like an addiction. It was all I could think about. I was literally having dreams about Dynasty Warriors 2. Just me versus 1,000 yellow turban rebels, or my Guan Yu facing off against Lu Bu. I think that was right.
That's
pretty good, yeah.
I was completely and utterly sucked into the world of this game for months on end of that summer. So when it came time to plan a bachelor party, or even to be present at my brother's wedding, I made up excuses for why I couldn't be there. I had a big project due for class, or I was required rehearsals for an upcoming theatre production. Of course, all my excuses were purely fiction. I could have gone away, but I chose to lie to my brother and skip his festivities instead. Jay's wedding came and went while I stayed on campus playing my video game all summer. I'm fairly certain that my brother has never forgiven me for not participating in a once-in-a-lifetime celebration. Even though he never challenged my excuses or called them out as lies, I know Jay was very disappointed that I didn't make a bigger effort to be there with him and his bride. After that summer had passed and I realised what I'd done, I felt bad for letting something as trivial as playing or beating a video game upset the relationship I had with my brother. Jay and I remain distant for many reasons to this day, but I suspect that I suspect that my never making it to his wedding has been an open wound to my brother all these years. Due to the tenuous relationship we have today, I think I might never tell him this story. So instead, I'm confessing here to you and to the world at large in anonymity. Please absolve me of my guilt over this matter, PGG. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for making the world a better place, one absolution at a time. Sincerely, Anonymous.
Wow, that was a lot of words. Congratulations, Jake. We made it to the end. That was
I will take a drink.
That's a nice mug. This was deep. This was probably. We can all kind of relate to the idea of not wanting to do stuff and getting out of stuff just to play games, though, right?
But a wedding.
But your brother's wedding.
I mean, you know, if you're young and you've not gone and you think this is really going to stick it to him, it sounds like he wasn't too convinced that like the marriage was going to last. Like he seems quite dubious. So I can sympathise. I can understand where he's coming from.
And there's like that once in a lifetime thing that I mentioned there. Well, maybe if he thinks it's not going to last, maybe he thinks he can just catch the next one.
Yeah.
It'll just be best man for the next one. I'll just skip this one, play Dynasty Warriors.
He did mention it has been 20 years.
Well, okay, so maybe he's regretting it a little bit more.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. However, this is the idea, right? We ask people to anonymously confess their sins, and we have to absolve them. We have to be the higher.
I had trouble with this concept last week as well.
What if it involves murder?
We could take it to a vote. What if it involves murder?
Yeah, what if they've murdered someone?
Well, if that happens, we haven't filtered our dead creds well enough, have we?
The wrong one.
Yeah, that is true.
Because we won't be reading that out. So, where do you stand? If you weren't forced to absolve him, would you be of the mind to forgive him anyway?
I think I would.
I mean,
I can understand where he's coming from, though, right?
If Drake can forgive Josh for not being invited to his wedding, then I think I can forgive him for not going to his brother's wedding, because they were brothers too, you know.
There you go.
Drake and Josh.
You are absolved, my friend. You are absolved. If anybody else has their own confessions to make and is seeking absolution, then send them into gaming@goliath-media.com and we will read them out. Try not to laugh as much as possible, and then we will do our very best to absolve you of your sins and forgive you so that you may go on with your life in the knowledge that you don't have to carry this burden with you any longer. So that is it for Dead Cred this week. Let's jump into another question. And who else? Beach Horn. Now we have to call Gareth Gaz instead of the small one. Who called me the small one? When was I ever the small one?
The audience?
I'm 6 foot tall, damn it. Okay, I'll just get that off my chest. What name would you prefer? This is specifically to you, Jake. What name would you prefer instead of Baby Jake? Because you were called we kind of dubbed you Baby Jake back in the day. But now we're moving on from that, right? You're Jake in your own right now. You're not Baby Jake anymore. You're not in anybody's shadow. You are Jake in your own right. What would you like to be called?
Literally anything else other than Baby Jake. That would be quite nice.
It would be nice, Baby Jake. Well, I had suggested in the past JJ, right? Because your name's Jake Jones. JJ makes sense.
JJ's quite cute.
It works.
JJ.
I'm not against it.
I can see you as a JJ.
JJ.
No, this is your choice because we are just kind of...
I mean,
pressing you,
JJ. You probably are going to pressure me anyway, so...
I won't do that to you, JJ.
I like Jay. Jay's good one. Jay?
Jay?
Have you ever had Jay? Anyone
I've got a friend called Jay, so...
You can't be Jay.
No.
That's
J2.
out the window.
Baby J.
Oh no. This has got worse.
Baby J2. Baby JJ2. Any one of those combinations.
J2, Electric Boogaloo.
What? I know. Why don't we just call you Jake?
That's a good idea. Why didn't we think of that one?
That's a good idea. Let's just call you Jake.
Let's go with that one.
Thanks for the question again, Beach Horn. We move on to another Beach Horn question. Can you, in 30 seconds or less, explain to Gazimon, that's me,
That's you,
the difference between Pokemon and Digimon? So
Would
this
you like
isn't...
me to time it?
That's assuming I know about Digimon.
Okay, this is in reference to me posting on the Patreon a picture of a Digimon, which was Gazimon, and referring to it as a Pokemon.
Yeah.
Right? So I made the grave error. I'm sorry, Jake. I am really, truly sorry. Maybe I should I should write into the Dead Code Redemption to
Maybe
be
you
absolved
should,
from that.
yeah. We wouldn't.
How dare I mix up my Digimon to my Pokemon? You've got 30 seconds to explain to me what the difference between a Digimon and Pokemon is.
Hang on. I'll time you.
You're gonna time me?
I'm gonna time you, just to keep the pressure off.
Okay.
Okay, ready? You can press the start when you're ready. Just there.
Where?
That green one.
Okay. Ready? Digimon is trash. Pokemon's great.
Oh my god.
That took
That's it.
3 seconds.
It's just that easy.
Wow.
Good job, mate.
Wowzer. You were slightly less judgmental in the office earlier. You had a different.
I mean,
can we go with your earlier explanation? Whereas
Digimon are digital monsters, whereas Pokemon are pocket monsters.
That's a slightly more descriptive,
Yeah,
let's say.
I mean, they asked Jake to do it, and that's.
I mean,
Jake's
I don't begrudge you that
description.
answer. That was a stellar answer. I'll be honest.
That was good,
Digimon is
wasn't it?
trash, and Pokemon is ace. There you go. So thanks for the question again, Beachhorn. And a question for Lucy now, again from Beachhorn. Which NPC in an RPG do you feel you'd have developed furthest, given the opportunity? And would you have liked to have done the voice acting? As in, which NPC would you have developed furthest if you were given the opportunity to write for, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I think so.
Would you?
I think these are 2 separate questions because the character that I'd like to develop more is totally different to the character that I would love to voice act. So
Okay.
I'll try and cover them both quite quickly. The voice act one is Tracer. Thought I'd bring her up again in every single podcast, I guess. I think I'd be a pretty good Tracer. I'm not going to do my Tracer impression. I feel like I have to do my Tracer impression.
You have to now. You're obliged to. No pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. Cheers, love! The cavalry's here! It's not bad. Neither of you play Overwatch, so
I'm sure that was.
I have played Overwatch.
Spot on. I'm sure that was spot on.
how was it?
Fun.
How was my impression?
It was great.
That was great. Yeah,
Thanks,
that
JJ.
was,
Overwatch was fun.
yeah. That was
So
fun.
that's that one. I'd love to do that. She's great. The character that I'd love to develop more is, shockingly, in Dragon Age 2. Wow, I thought all of Dragon Age 2's characters were so developed. No, they're not. If I had to pick, I would love to pick all of them and rewrite all of them and rewrite that whole game. But I'd have to choose Anders, who's the mage, he runs like a little street clinic sort of underneath the city. He's the one who ends up burning the chantry with thousands of innocents inside it at the end of the game. Spoilers! He essentially, in Dragon Age lore, there's like a massive war between mages and the chantry, which is essentially a church system to regulate the mages, essentially shackle them and sort of school them, make sure it's all regimented, and then you have the mages who want to be free, they want to embrace the magic they were given, and there's a massive war between them. Anders is the one mage that sort of starts this whole war. He essentially fills the chantry, the massive building, which is just full of innocent mages and innocent priests, and he blows it up at the end of the game. And you have a choice at the end of the game to either kill him on the spot or bring him into battle, the final battle with you. Which is implied that he'll die during that. But there's no redeeming feature about him. There's no from his side of the why he doesn't get a chance to really explain himself. He doesn't really get a chance to sort of say, oh, I want it to be, I'm willing to sacrifice myself to be a catalyst for this war that needs to happen or whatever. He's not, he is essentially, that's why he did it. He wanted to spark a revolution. But there's no point in the game where he ever really states that. He never really says why he's done it. He just looks a bit sad afterwards, and a little pop-up comes up stab him, and that's about it.
Right.
And that's all he really gets.
Right.
I think there's a couple of of the sort of side books and comics for Dragon Age that might delve into a little bit, but you basically finish that game just oh, he's a dick. And then you just move on. But he, in fact, started a massive revolution that is underlying all of Dragon Age's lore. Without him, Dragon Age would have 40% less lore. So he's done a pretty good service. So I'd like to sort of just give him a chance.
Yeah. Rewrite it.
Quite passionate about it, actually.
Yeah. You're obviously very passionate about that. It's is it one of your favourite games, that Dragon Age?
Dragon Age 2? I don't think I've mentioned that on the podcast, have I?
You have.
I don't think I have.
I think you may have.
I don't think so. Why would I ever say that on a public forum where lots of people would hear it?
Okay, I've never played it myself. I don't know. So
it's just got a bunch of badly written
It's just
characters.
bad. It's just bad. It needs to be better. And you're willing to step it to the plate and maybe do it.
I'll do that for
now
you.
Now that you do that
BioWare.
for a living kind of now anyway, so
Might as well.
you're available.
Hire
right?
me. I'll remaster Dragon Age 2 on my own.
I'm sure you got enough ideas. Thanks for that again.
You're welcome.
Beach, Horn and Lucy for the awesome answer. So we have one further question remaining from Hybrid Kraut, right? In an attempt to convert even the most stubborn hardcore PC gamer into a console gamer, what console exclusive game would you each of you choose to accomplish this task? I ask as a reformed PC gamer myself who credits PGG for opening my eyes to the wonder of consoles late last year. Now I'm both kicking myself for having missed so many glorious games and loving playing catch-up. So for any PC gamer who's just been like, no consoles, they're for scrubs, that kind of mentality is wrong for one, because you're missing out in so many games. What are those games they're missing out on?
There's a lot.
There's a lot of games in there. Let's start with one. Just
The Last of Us.
Anyone.
The
Last of Us is
a
console exclusive to the PlayStation. Was on PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, remastered. I agree. Wholeheartedly agree. It is one of the number one games. If you're buying a console for the first time ever, The Last of Us has to be on the top of the list. Right?
Definitely.
Red Dead Redemption, the original.
Yeah.
Another one, top of the list for me. Lucy, do you have one?
I feel like a bit of an infiltrator in this conversation because I am a PC gamer that prefers PC over consoles.
You don't own a console?
I own an Xbox One, and that was because my friend was selling it rather cheaply, and I decided I would lose out if I didn't. So I play it for Sea of Thieves. And
you wouldn't recommend that? Oh, that's PC as well, anyway. So that it doesn't qualify.
Played a little bit of Battlefront and Halo, but it's I play PC like almost every night.
Yeah, no, I get that.
It's a little bit dusty. I am not totally convinced. So maybe I can be that PC gamer that you.
Well, there you go. I mean, if I was to recommend games to you, again, God of War would be one. I would think that you have to be God of War. Horizon Zero Dawn as well, if you can. I mean, it's one of the better games. It is one of the better games. So we've got 4 now, right?
Yeah.
And you said another one in the office.
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. So that's 5 games. So
I need to buy a PlayStation and a Switch.
And a Switch, yeah. You got The Last of Us. What do we say? You've got Red Dead Redemption.
I do think I really like that. I would really like that game. I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm
sure you would.
Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, and Breath of the Wild. There you go. That's 5.
Now I just need the money to go with it. Do you guys have that as well?
No.
I've left my wallet. I left my wallet.
Oh, right, okay. We'll sort it out later, don't worry.
Will we? Right. That is it for questions, right? So if any of you guys have got any of your own answers to any of the questions that we've touched on today, feel free to leave them in the comments of the video if you watch on YouTube, on the comments of the Patreon post if you're watching on Patreon, if you're a patron. Also, don't forget to leave questions for next week's podcast, and we will get around to asking your questions out on the podcast. You might make it into the podcast. And thanks to everyone for your questions today. We've had a lot of pleasure reading them out and answering them.
Yeah, there've been some very good ones.
Good.
And that is it for this week then. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for supporting us and all the rest of it. We will see you again in next week's podcast. And from Lucy, Jake and myself, bye for now.